Welcome, everybody. Alex is a recovering automotive vendor turned data driven dealer partner. Having worked for OEMs, agencies, and everything in between, he now spends his days convincing dealers that spreadsheets are the enemy. And an all in one business intelligence solution gives them the tools to run a more efficient and profitable operation. When not preaching the gospel of business intelligence, Alex can be found in his backyard working to restore a 1984 Ford Bronco 2, which we all know he won't be asking my help on, giving my poor tech experience in my background. Alex, welcome to the Fixed Ops Mastermind.
Yeah, thank you for having me, Dave. Excited to be here.
It's great to have you here. So Alex is an account executive with Targit. Welcome again. And if you could tell everybody a little bit about you, and then we will get right into the knowledge.
Yeah, for sure. I think the saying people typically go with is I fell into automotive. For me, I couldn't necessarily escape automotive. I grew up in Metro Detroit, actually a street over from FCA, or I guess it was Chrysler, then it was FCA, and now Stellantis. So with it, I kind of had that automotive lifeblood in me. So my grandpa lived what I guess you could call the American dream. He started off reconditioning. From there, he worked his way up, bought an auto auction, turned it into a couple auto auctions, sold to some British entity, and then rode off into the sunset with Manheim. He also was pretty instrumental in starting the Michigan Independent Auto Dealers Association. So having that automotive background obviously then tied my dad in, where my mom and dad ironically met at none other than Northwood. So he worked on the auction side for a bit, then the wholesale side for Suburban, I guess now Lithia. But my 2 cents is seeing the retail hours is what pushed me more towards the automotive partner software, digital advertising side. So that's how I ended up where I'm at. I've worked, as Dave mentioned, for OEMs, agencies, everything in between. And Target was coming over from Europe into the U.S. market, and I felt it was a good opportunity for me to take all the hats I've worn along the way and put them on in a new role.
Excellent. I love it. And it's Targit, not the Target that people are shopping at for Christmas,
Correct.
right?
That's typically how it goes with the cold calling is, what did my wife order from Target? Like, what are you calling about? Like, no, we're a BI tool. So that's always a fun conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. A little different. And we'd also like to welcome Target as a sponsor of the Fixed Ops Mastermind. We are proud to have them joining us and helping to spread the word about how important business intelligence is. So, as always, our show is broken up into 3 segments. And this week we have modern DMS solution, data-driven decision-making, and integration and innovation. If everybody's ready, let's get into it. All right, Alex, segment 1, modern DMS evolution. Talk to us about how cloud-native architecture has transformed the traditional DMS capabilities and dealership operations, and what emerging technologies you're seeing dealerships adopt to streamline fixed ops workflows.
Yeah, I think first we could look at, I guess, cost efficiency. So when you look at a traditional DMS, you're going to have server infrastructure as well as IT support associated with that. So the initial upfront cost is obviously significantly higher for an on-prem solution. For a cloud-native DMS, it's cloud-based, it's subscription. With it, updates are done very fluidly. So the cost efficiency definitely favors cloud. When you look at accessibility as well as like real-time data, that's another huge factor that ties into something that's cloud native. And let me I'll share a quick example here. I was talking to a dealer principal in New York a couple weeks ago. I think they had 3 to 4 different rooftops, and we were laughing because we're going through our solution, and he's like, "Hey, I was sitting at home last night, and he's not able to actually look at his reporting because he's not, on-prem necessarily. So
Hmm.
he's not connected to the servers at the dealership, which I thought was kind of laughable in this day and age. So one, that's a huge pain point, which we'll get into that further down the line in regards to the BI capabilities.
Yeah.
But for real time reporting, that's another huge issue. So when you look at a traditional on-prem DMS or traditional DMS model, it's going to be more of a like retroactive look at your data,
Right.
whereas a cloud native DMS allows you to be a bit more proactive, given that it's feeding in real time data. So that then ties into connectivity and everything else tied to other vendors. So
Hmm.
when you look at a traditional DMS, I think the language that you would use would be like a bolt-on solution.
Right.
So digital retailing, CRM, inventory management, all of that would be bolted onto your DMS. Whereas with a cloud native DMS, it's a bit more, I guess you'd say plug and play in a sense.
Hmm.
So pretty robust APIs or a majority of these third-party applications within the automotive vertical, which just results in better seamless integration across the board. And lastly, I think we could look at the customer-centric aspect of a cloud-native DMS. So the way a traditional DMS is set up is it's to store transactional data. CRM is to store communication data with customers.
Mm.
Whereas a cloud native DMS, feeding in a lot of this new technology allows it to be more customer centric. So you're building out customer profiles, it's more streamlined across sales, service, parts,
Hmm.
to really understand your customer, which I think we'll dive into a bit further
Yeah.
along in the conversation. But from a personalization perspective, it just is so helpful from the marketing side of things.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, being able to put an identity to your customer. Traditionally, sales, service, parts, all in silos inside that dealership, right? Not just as departments, but even the information that they have access to.
Exactly.
The sales can't see stuff from service, service can't see stuff from parts, and we're all trying to take care of the same customer.
Yep. Yeah, and I know you also asked about like up and coming technology I've seen and partners that dealers are utilizing
Yeah.
to streamline workflows. And let me preface, I have no ties to any of these companies. I get no referral kickbacks or anything of that nature. This is just based off of personal experience, either of me, buying a vehicle, servicing a
Mhm.
vehicle, or just from conversations I've had with dealers.
Sure.
This one would be a personal one. So, text to drive. I know there's plenty of other technology out there relatively similar, but it would have been like 14 months ago. I had an old tin can of a Jeep Wrangler, and I'm a firm believer that changing your own oil is a sunk cost. So I take it in as much as I love tinkering around in my backyard. I take it in, get my oil change, and I get a text, and it's it's the tech who he's like, "Hey, your my fan belt. It looked like a snake skin. This thing was frayed beyond belief, and it was so nice because one, there's that transparency where you truly see, okay, this does need to be fixed. On
Hmm.
top of that, it had the prioritization of like green, yellow, red of these things prioritization wise.
Yeah.
And you can check them off. It had the price tied right in where you click the box, you sign off, you're good to go. So
Yeah.
one, you're saving the customer time, you're saving the
Right.
tech time, and you're saving the advisor time.
Hmm.
So three birds with one stone there.
Right.
Uh, the next would be War Cloud. I've heard from a couple dealer partners just from a like end-to-end warranty management perspective,
Hmm. Yeah.
taking a lot of that manual labor associated with warranty claims and automating it. So that's another thing. I think a lot of the solutions in the automotive space are, at the end of the day, the commodity that's being sold is time. We're selling time back to dealers to go back to doing what they do best,
Yeah.
selling or servicing vehicles. The next, I probably beating a dead horse at this point, but from an AI perspective, service schedulers are being adopted
Yeah.
with Stell AI, Brook AI. I may be a bit too close to it where I'm not fully bought in. Maybe I've watched iRobot one too many times, but for me, like and maybe this was even another vertical that I was calling into, but you could tell it was an AI chat representative where
Yeah.
you hear like the fake typing in the background. Like, come on, like what is this? Like, but I will say that the snowball effect of AI and machine learning, it's going to get there. It will get there, and it will be so seamless that I'm still in the boat of buying a home and buying a vehicle. These two of the largest ticket purchase prices you'll have in your
Hmm.
life.
Yep.
It's a human to human business, but something where I'm calling in and I'm waiting on hold for 2 to 3 minutes.
Right.
If AI can fix that, awesome.
Hmm. Yeah.
Another one would be Frickin' Tech. They had a pretty neat a trade-in IQ. It's more or less a trade-in specific chatbot.
Yep.
Very very humanized. And then lastly, I guess I could say like CDPs, so customer data platforms, CDXPs, customer data experience platforms, and BI solutions, business intelligence solutions.
Hmm.
Data has definitely become the forefront.
Yeah.
At least this past year, it seemed to finally get its time in the sun.
Hmm.
Uh, so I think there's a lot to come from that in the years coming.
Yeah. And you mentioned schedulers there. The schedulers are a thorn in my side in this industry because they're just I have yet to find a scheduler that is truly customer friendly. To be able to take a customer that goes online to make an appointment with your scheduler and make that easy. But part of that is what you were talking about with having customer profiles and things set up,
Mhm.
right? If you have a more detailed customer profile set up, and you have my profile in there, when I go in to make that appointment, it already knows things about me, right? It already knows that I do I do certain things on Wednesdays and I can't come into the dealership. So it's not going to offer me a Wednesday for for an
Yeah,
appointment, right? We're going to eliminate all of that stuff. Um
exactly. I'm hoping
and
at
it's
that
just
point we get to the stage of like, I think of FedEx or Chipotle. Like
mhm.
Chipotle, for example, I place an order and I can see in app like, oh, they're putting the lettuce on my bowl right now.
Right.
Or, just put the rice in my bowl. Like if we can get to that point in automotive, that would
Mhm.
be obviously we're a long way from there. And if anyone
Yeah.
listening to this is building that form of application, shoot me a DM. I will liquidate all of my assets and invest immediately.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we're really no different than what's going on at Chipotle, right? It might be a more intricate process, and they might not need to put that bowl outside for a couple of days while they wait for more lettuce to come in. But you can still we can still be better as an industry about tracking where a vehicle is in the process and notifying our customers about that.
Agreed.
So how do you approach change management when transitioning dealerships to new systems? Because dealerships are notoriously slow to adopt and really strong on resisting change in their environment.
Yeah. First, I'll say for anyone I've worked with in the past that's listening to this, they're probably going to make fun of me for saying it, but and it's cliche, I know. I think this is a huge differentiation between being a vendor and being a partner. So one, what we primarily focus on is buy-in as well as skin in the game. And in this initial sense, when I say skin in the game, I'm referencing dealers' time. We're not asking for initial upfront cost. We're asking for their time.
Yeah.
Um, we want to ensure we have clear objectives in place. We want to ensure that there's buy-in across departments. So our tool itself, we're structured more for operational efficiency, but that's across departments: sales, service, parts, finance, accounting, marketing. Whoever wants to dip their toes in, we can
Yeah.
help them out. And we prioritize that through our training, is structuring it based off of what's important to each party involved. So, Mr. or Mrs. Fixed Ops Director, what does your daily, weekly, monthly, yearly reporting look like? and how can we make that easier on you?
Hmm.
So from a pilot perspective or proof of concept, however you want to word that, we do it free. We'll give you access for a couple of weeks to play around with the tool where we're pulling in your DMS data, your CRM data,
Hmm.
inventory management, Google Analytics, all of that. So you can see one, if it's a value add to you, and also for us to give you the opportunity to show you what a data driven outlook on your data looks like. And lastly, I think this ties back to that vendor versus partner mentality, and it would be open communication. Whether this is a personal relationship or a professional relationship, I think having that open line of communication, but also the comfortability to say no, you're wrong. I think
Yeah.
a lot of times when you're in the seller's seat of trying to sell a product to a dealer, it's you're a yes man and you're an order taker.
Yep.
Um, but in this sense, given what we're structuring, we want it to be an open line of communication to have that comfortability to push back when we don't necessarily feel like it's the right move.
Hmm. Yeah, and that's extremely important to have, right, in any relationship, but certainly as you're working um to allow them to get the most benefit from what you can give them, right? And that is most times, probably 99.9% of the time, is not going to come by just being a yes man with them,
Yeah.
right? You've seen a lot more things than they have with your tool and how it works and interacts, and so therefore you have a point of view, a perspective that's different from theirs, and you need to be able to have that open communication about that to help them get the benefits that they're hoping for.
Yep.
Right, that's going to take us into segment 2, which is data driven decision making. um, So what are the key metrics that are often overlooked in fixed ops that could drive some significant performance improvements?
Let me. I'll bucket this into three buckets. So we'll look at improving efficiency, improving customer satisfaction, and then like boosting revenue. So the first one I would say would be tech efficiency. It's not anything new by any means,
Yeah.
but what I will say with a business intelligence tool is the ability to identify inefficiencies, whether that's just from a workload perspective, like a workload imbalance. And
Hmm.
let me give a quick example. So one of our partners at the moment, we have NDAs in place. So I can't share any names, but
Yep.
I can say they're a top 20 group. So they have 45 plus stores. They have 4 separate DMSs. So when you think of that, that's one, you would think, oh, you have 4 separate logins to look at data. No. During the consolidation process of them buying up dealerships, they've
Yep.
inherited other entities, and I think it comes out to 33 separate logins. So the fixed ops director, when he's looking at reporting, it's
Hmm.
service managers sending him individual store reports on efficiency and productivity.
Yep.
The beauty of our solution is it consolidates not just that one DMS, but all 4 DMSs in one place, standardizes all of that data so it's speaking the same language.
Mm.
And then that fixed op director has the ability to drill down on individual stores, individual regions, individual makes, everything down to individual techs and individual op codes. Really, once the data's in there, you can get as granular as you want or as holistic as you want.
Hmm.
The next would be like first time fix rate. I think it is a bit overlooked just from a
Yep.
sense of it's a double edged sword. It's efficiency, but it's also customer satisfaction.
Yeah.
There's no worse thing when you get your vehicle serviced and you're driving home and the light turns on.
Right.
Something like that, or
Hmm.
like this is a terrible example, and I shouldn't even say it because my dad worked at the dealership. But I went, I got my oil changed, got my tires rotated, and then I went to drive to northern Michigan, and I think it was a 4.5 hour drive. I'm about an hour in, and I'm like, wow, this is weird. Like my wheel seems to be shaking, and so I pull off at a rest stop, and they didn't put my lug nuts on.
Oh
So
boy.
I'm lucky I didn't die. Um,
Yeah.
Like, I know that's not necessarily like a B back or an internal something that needs to get invoiced, but nonetheless, that's from a customer satisfaction perspective. First time fixed rate is huge, and at the
Hmm.
end of the day, it affects revenue. The next I would say would be like bay utilization rate. One of our dealer partners right now just added, I think, 7 or 8 additional bays
Hmm.
or lifts,
Yep.
additional lifts. And with it, what they're looking to do is look at the percentage of time that those are actually being utilized so that they can help with like scheduling inefficiencies,
Yep.
as well as like staffing mismatching. Obviously, we need to pull in some data once they get everything set up. But
Yep.
once that's in there, he'll have the data to truly structure it. And this last one, I wouldn't really say it's a KPI, but probably post COVID, maybe even during COVID, uh, there was a lot of content, both whether it was through you or other fixed ops specific content around tech shortage, tech retention,
Hmm.
and I think a lot of that ties into training as well as certification. Where we have another two birds one stone scenario where you're improving not just the tech's work, but also then the customer satisfaction.
Yeah.
So there's so much value tied into that. And I think for me personally, and the only wrenches I've ever turned are in my backyard working on rust buckets I've bought off of Facebook Marketplace that my fiance has almost called the wedding off over. Uh, but but for me, anytime I've been in a role where you feel you're no longer learning, or
Yeah.
you've reached your potential in regards to money you can make, is generally when you want to leave.
Hmm.
Um, so giving techs the ability to learn and in turn become more efficient in their roles, and it just results in a better overall process for not just them but also the customers.
Yeah. So let's go back to the fix right the first time
Yeah.
thing. So in in using in using some additional data, right? Like you're gonna have that information. Maybe if the advisor uses the right op code when a comeback happens, um, maybe if a customer fills out a survey and says that the car wasn't fixed right on the first visit, you'll have that information. But what caused that, right? And if you have some additional data there, then you can understand what caused it. Because a lot of times that not fixed right the first time might be because you didn't have a part that you
Hmm.
needed for that repair, right? In that customer's eyes, you didn't fix my car the first time I brought it there. I had to bring it twice, even though it was for a part. So in a lot of fixed ops guys' heads. Not fixed right the first time means somebody did something wrong in as far as a repair goes.
Hmm.
Maybe what was done wrong was we didn't have the right stock, right? Or maybe the appointments weren't reviewed ahead of time to know, oh, hey, Alex is coming in with recall ABC. I need
Hmm.
to have part XYZ in stock to complete that recall. And
Yep.
now you've got additional data to help you avoid those things.
Correct. Yeah, and that's another thing we generally end up finding out during the data validation process
Mm,
is it's not necessarily standardized across the board, with whether it's opcodes being utilized or
yep.
how things are actually being reported.
Yep.
So in turn, it helps increase the overall data quality as time goes on.
Yeah. And that's the additional data that you might have access to if you dig enough, right? As a
Mhm.
fixed ops director, if you dig enough, you might be able to find that, but you don't have time to
No.
do that on all these repair orders, right? You're writing, 200 repair orders a day. You don't have time to figure out those ones that had fixed right the first time problems, and exactly what happened with that. So these new systems are giving you those options to have. Um, so what are some of the, I think we've already talked about some of this, but what are some of the benefits of a dealership using a business intelligence solution?
Yeah. So let me start by saying it's not a one size fits all solution.
Hmm.
It's really based off of a dealer group's needs, It's going to vary whether you're a single point or you're a top 20 dealer group, or if you're publicly traded.
Yep.
The level of data, as well as your true use case, is going to vary. We have some partners we just work with on the fixed side. We have other partners who are just utilizing our tool for just accounting. It's really based off of use case. We can ingest really any data source. So DMS, CRM, inventory management systems, Google Analytics. If there's an API or a flat file, and when I say flat file, that just means Excel. Like if you have an Excel file or a CSV, we can ingest that. And in turn, what we do is we just make it pretty. It's not to get too nerdy, but we take all the data, consolidate it in a data warehouse. We then cube it up into different departments. So sales, service, parts, finance, marketing, whatever it may be. And out of the box, based off of all the reporting we've done with dealer partners, both in EMEA as well as here in the States, we have 250 or so reports. But the idea here is to build something that's specific to the dealer group in question, not something that's just a cookie cutter BI solution. So at the end of the day, we're saving time both on a manual reporting perspective, a human error perspective. But yeah, we can be as holistic or as granular as we want once the data is all in one place.
Which is great, being able to individualize that for what the dealership actually wants. I'm sure you could overwhelm them with with information and data that they are not gonna. It's gonna freeze them, right? Where they don't know. There's so much they don't even know where to start.
Exactly. I always like to say that we'll crawl with you, we'll walk with you, and then we'll run with you. We don't want it to be something where I sell it, see you later. It's something where we truly do become a partner. We're with you on other calls with other vendors if that's something you would like, and we can really get into the weeds in regards to data integration.
Oh, that's great. And so, what we talked about being able to create those customer profiles and things. What trends are you seeing in customer data utilization for personalized service experiences?
Yeah, I think it could be summed up into like know thy customer. You kind of alluded to it earlier of the disconnect and everything siloed out between sales, service, and parts. Having that unified customer profile allows you to do that, become more personable when it comes to individual service. I think the biggest thing we'll see, and we've started to see it already, but just from a like personalization on the sales and service side of things for marketing. And I'll give another poor example here. So that Wrangler of mine that I was talking about earlier eventually was sent off to greener pastures, or however you want to put it. She died. I'm driving a little Jeep Compass at the moment until I fix up this Bronco 2. And I go in, I get my oil change, and I go home. 2 to 3 days later, in my mailbox, I had from that same dealer, I had just their blanketed service offers of $10 off your oil change,
Yeah.
get your tires rotated, buy 3 tires, get 1 free, all that fun stuff.
Yeah.
Like, shaking my head because I'm like, I was just there. You're wasting your time, and you're also wasting my time. And then a week, 10 days go by, and I get an email, and it's the same blanketed template offer. They don't know me, and it puts that bad taste in your mouth as a customer.
Yeah.
Where then it's that disconnect. And I think this is something where CDPs and CDXPs are going to come into play significantly, just from a standardization of the data, cleansing of the data, and being able to provide like real time right offers to the right consumer, whether that's sales or service. And there's so many different data points that can feed in. I think as time goes on, and this, you can probably see it behind me, The Future of Automotive Retail by Steve Greenfield. I think one of the things he talks about is like the telematics of vehicles feeding in and knowing like when I need this service, when I need that.
Mm-hmm.
We're way off from being there, But as time goes on, that's going to be really cool to have that type of data to know when things need to be done, because that notifies not just the dealer but also the
Hmm.
consumer. And then I guess from like a proactive perspective, that would ties into that world I was just describing of like telematics, but there's
Right.
still data points that you can leverage for service reminders.
Hmm.
Um, it's based off average time they typically come in from their last oil change, for example.
Right. Yeah, and being able to analyze that again, this is one of those things like if you wanted to manually do this, it's impossible with the amount of people that are in your DMS, right? But
Hmm.
with data and things to back that and put that together, now you can start to create those. I have a similar experience. My local Ford dealer that I take my Bronco to sent out a few months ago, but they sent out first an email letting me know that when I'm ready for service, there's mobile service and they have pickup and delivery available for my convenience, blah blah blah, right? All
Hmm.
branded from, it didn't come just straight from Ford. It's branded by this dealership. Well, I know they don't have either of those. They don't have pickup and delivery, and they don't have mobile service. But then to make it worse, it's not just the cost of an email going out. Now they send me a postcard that
Yep.
also tells me that they can do mobile service and pickup and delivery. So, I'm just one customer, and they've wasted all that money communicating with me. And if I'm a customer that doesn't know they don't have those things, now I'm reaching out to the dealership to set up my mobile service to find out we don't have mobile service. Well, you
Yeah.
sent me an offer for mobile service, right? So it's those small erosions of trust and transparency as a customer sees it, that start to cause issues. And if we can integrate more of these other solutions, we can start to eliminate that stuff as we can actually send some real personalization to people.
Yeah. I think at the end of the day, the mismatch in messaging really hurts the overall brand reputation,
Yeah.
just because it puts a bad taste in your mouth. Like if you said, if you do call and you're looking for mobile service and they don't
Hmm.
have it, like I
Yep.
have this postcard in my hand that says otherwise.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, and it's those little things, right? And depending on the type of person you are, maybe that's the last time you call. Like you just go, okay, well, forget it. I'll find somewhere else to take my car then,
Hmm.
right? And now you've lost that customer. You don't know you've lost that customer, and you're still sending them.
Yeah.
You're still spending money
Yeah.
sending
It's
them letters.
the circle of life.
Exactly. All right, so here we go. Segment 3, and this is integration and innovation. Alex, how do you ensure seamless integration between the DMS and third party applications while still maintaining data security?
Let me. I heard the question, but let me start first by
Yeah.
saying, and this is geared more towards just my experience in the automotive space. Everything is so siloed out, and from a data perspective, I think it's important for other dealer partners, whether you're a software provider, a digital advertising provider, website provider, understanding that it's not a zero sum game. There's what 18,000
Yeah.
new car dealers,
Yep.
and that's not even counting independents. So from that perspective, I would just say working together to do our best to help our dealer partners is of the utmost importance.
Hmm.
Um, from a data security perspective, on our end, when we came to the U.S. market, we looked at market share. So from a DMS perspective, that was CDK. From a CRM perspective, that was eLead, and I guess now eLead is technically called CDK CRM, if I understand correctly.
It's part of it. Yeah.
Yeah. So with it, we focused primarily on that partnership. So
Hmm.
they had a whole certification process. Through that, they have pretty robust security measures in place for their APIs. And you can look at Fortellis as like an Apple app store. More or less, a dealer goes through CDK Connect through Fortellis. They subscribe to our app, and then we get access to the APIs that have their sales, service, parts, all their data.
Yeah.
Um, on Target's end, we're hosted on Azure. We have everything's SSL encrypted from a dealer by dealer basis. All those databases are separate. I think it's also important to mention from a use case scenario. So for a dealer group actually leveraging our solution, we have like data governance in place. So what do I mean by that? I mean what a dealer principal can see within their data is going to be significantly different than what a service manager at one rooftop can see.
Sure.
All of this is through single sign-on, so it's not something where they need to be on-prem. It's something they can look on a phone, on a tablet, at home.
Mm-hmm.
We do frequent pen tests. Obviously, everything else is pretty buttoned up. We are headquartered in Denmark, so just from a European perspective, data is a bit more secure,
Yes.
just from a legislation side of things. Here in the States, a bit different, but we still follow a lot of those protocols. And then lastly, this isn't necessarily a security measure, but I think, based on, and I'm not kicking a dead horse here, but based on what happened earlier this year with CDK, with the hack and everything being down for
Yeah.
a couple days to a couple weeks,
Mm-hmm.
we Target as a whole, our parent company, operates here in a handful of what I'll call near endemic dealer models. So think an OEM and a retail dealer. So those being like heavy equipment dealers, truck and trailer dealers,
Okay.
and a lot of those were leveraging CDK and teledealer. So they were still affected. But the beauty of it was leveraging a tool like Target, you have data redundancy in place. So you have a backup of all your data and you're able to still function as a business.
Yeah.
Yes, we're not able to post anything back to the DMS, but nonetheless, you have the data and
Yeah.
you're able to continue to stay afloat.
Yeah. Yeah. Because that's huge, and I can tell you, I was with Prime, which no longer exists, but when they had a data breach, a ransomware attack, um, that shut down all 48 or so dealerships. Um, Everything completely shut down. No computers. At my particular store, I had the one computer that was not affected because I happened to be on vacation when the attack happened, so my computer was off, so it never got infected. So I had a computer that worked, but you still couldn't access the systems because they didn't know where they get in from, right? So
Yeah.
there was only certain things that I could do. But it's crippling when that happens, right? You've got a parts department with thousands and thousands of parts in all these different bins, and yeah, a good parts department may know where certain parts are, but they can't look stuff up when a tech is diagnosing something and he needs a particular sensor, right? They
Yeah.
they don't go, oh yeah, I know where that is. It's right here. They need to look that up and figure that out, and they lose that ability when that happens.
So that's a great example. And one of our heavy equipment dealers, that's actually a report they have structured within Target is bin by bin. So they were able to then search by part number, identify where the bin was, but on top of that, it was almost ingested like a PDF.
Hmm.
So it pulls up like, okay, here is actually where that is within the parts department. So that was, I don't want to say the silver lining of it all,
Yeah.
but seeing the value that can provide from a data redundancy perspective was nice.
Yeah, it's crucial to have in these days because you
Yeah.
can't shut down for a week or more at a given time. So what role do you see AI and machine learning playing in the future of DMS development?
Yeah, I know we briefly talked about it earlier for the couple examples like Stella AI and
Hmm.
Brook AI. I think there's that every 2 to 3 months, and there's probably a real number behind it. So if anyone in the chat wants to throw that in, but for for me, it seems like every 2 to 3 months there's a huge jump in the quality of AI, whether
Yeah.
that's just through ChatGPT or generative AI. things of that nature. So for me, from a DMS perspective, it's going to eliminate a lot of those monotonous tasks. That's
Yeah.
just going to end up freeing up time. I know that's, you talk to a lot of people, whether it's on the sales side or the service side, so much goes into, I don't want to call it pushing buttons, but checking the box in
Yeah.
order to move something forward.
Yep.
Uh, Something as simple as scheduling, and I don't mean scheduling appointments or uh, sales appointments or service appointments. I
Mhm.
mean like work scheduling, something where you're feeding in, okay, Dave can't, I think you said earlier, you can't work on Wednesdays.
Yeah. Right.
Dave can't work on Wednesdays. And that's already in there. It's not something where you continuously need to have this conversation. Warranty claims, I know I mentioned War Cloud, but even something where a dealer in-house can just structure something that's doing these tasks for them.
Hmm.
Uh, from a reporting capability, I think via AI and machine learning, it's going to be a lot more robust, where you're able to, obviously, this isn't like a BI solution where you're pulling in all of your data sources,
Right.
but a majority of the data you need, if you're a smaller operation, it's going to be in your DMS. You should be able to leverage solutions that are being built out. Um, yes, I guess we can say the robots aren't always going to be right with their analysis, but it's at least going to point you in the right direction and give
Yeah.
you that, instead of you searching for the needle in the haystack,
Yep.
you can just identify, is this needle worth actually looking into? Um, the last point I think I would mention would be omni-channel integration. So that's just going to be across the board.
Yeah.
Sales, and when I say omni-channel, I don't even mean from a marketing perspective. I guess I could say omni-department integration, just sales, service, parts, having a true outlook on not just the customer, but operations as a whole. That's going to give departments the ability to work together. I think right now it's looked at as teams,
Hmm.
but allowing everyone to row in the same direction is going to be a huge value add of AI as well as machine learning, and a lot of that ties back to data.
Right. Right. And so you talked about eliminating repetitive tasks and things, and so from my fixed ops world, I look at things that service advisors have to do every single day that is really a repetitive task that we could eliminate from them having to do.
Yeah,
Preparing for an appointment, for advisors who actually have the time to prepare for appointments, that could be greatly helped with data and AI. Putting together what the customer has done in the past, in the history. What work have they declined that maybe should be brought up today? What work did they decline in the past that's related to work that they're asking for today, and they don't realize they declined in the past? Like, there's a lot of things that that maybe advisors don't even have the time to do, that AI and some with data behind it could certainly help their jobs.
yeah.
So how are you guys helping dealerships leverage mobile tech to improve technician efficiency?
Mhm. Let me first say that we don't post anything back. So we're not posting anything back to the DMS.
Hmm.
Majority of what we're doing is ingesting that data.
Right.
So from a mobile tech efficiency perspective, a lot of that will be tied to performance monitoring, whether that's efficiency or productivity. I think a good example I can give is one of our dealer partners has, I think, 35 to 40 TV monitors. So they have them in sales, in service, in accounting. And what they're looking to do is build out dashboards that just go through and more or less give line of sight to the status of things, whether
Sure.
that's for the week, the month, the day. Um, on the service side, it's our the service director we're working with is, I think the language he keeps saying is he wants to gamify things. So he wants to
Okay.
to make it seem more like a friendly competition,
Yeah.
which we'll see how that pencils out in the end. Um, some fisticuffs might end up being
Yeah.
thrown around, but at the end of the day, the line of sight to the data and upcoming orders, ROs actually being worked on, what's actually been clocked already, what's been billed, and being able to just see that is more or less the
Hmm.
benefit on the mobile side.
Yeah.
but yeah, at the end of the day, it's just giving the right data to the right people to make the right decisions.
Yeah, you could have it as like a stock ticker tape thing going along the bottom, right? And as the technician as they're producing hours, they're moving up, in that stock.
That's kind of what it looks like at the moment. I'm like, maybe we shouldn't go with this design. People are
Love
going
it.
to be asking for raises.
Alex, this has been some really informative things. For me, I love the data and the AI side of things, and the great things that's going to be able to do for our people inside this industry. That hopefully at the end of all that improves our retention rates with both our customers, but also our people within the dealership, because a 30 or so percent retention rate for advisors is pretty pitiful.
Yeah.
And we should be able to do better. Any final thoughts before we go?
If there's any techs in the Tampa Bay area that want to come work on this Bronco in my backyard, shoot me a DM. I told my soon to be wife it would be ready for us to drive away at our wedding, and I just welded in the floors. So there's a lot of work to still be done.
All right, you can't start the marriage off with a broken promise, my friend. All right, it's been great to have you here. To everybody else, we will see you next week.